Good afternoon, Jacob Field speaking. Just to confirm to start with, if you can see and hear me correctly, the slide in front of you should be property investment event. If you could just say hi in the chat bar, which is over in the right-hand side of your screen. Just while I'm seeing some hellos coming through, yes, you can hear me. If the picture is fuzzy in any way, you can resize your browser window. So if you change the dimensions and the size, it will resync. Potentially take away some fuzziness if you have it. Worst case scenario, Jessica, you should be hearing me speaking now and see the slides property investment event in front of you. If I could just get everyone to confirm that they can see and hear correctly, that would be great. But if you are having persistent problems with resolution or audio, just close your browser and load it back up again. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Helen. Thanks, David. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Al. A few more of you coming through. Thank you, guys. I will just get started straight away. I understand a lot of you might be taking some time out from your busy day and maybe on your lunch break. So definitely pull up a chair and have your lunch, and I'll try and stick it to an hour today, wrapping it up nice and promptly. So we have been following a regular format of recent weeks where we are basing 10 suburbs from our top 10 sweet spots report, which I co-authored with Terry Ryder from hotspotting.com.au. We took the 10 suburbs, our areas to start with that were recommended and suburbs within, and put it out to a vote over each successive week over the last 4 weeks, I think, from memory. Whichever suburb or area is the most popular on our Facebook post, we feature it. So today that is Albury, Albury in focus. I have mentioned, and the report does particularly focus on North Albury, and even a secondary market is Lavington, which is also just north of North Albury. Today I'm going to be opening out to Albury in general, so taking you through some of the new functionality we're about to roll out within Ripehouse, which will actually, even if a suburb overall doesn't seem to be investment class, too many owner-occupiers, etc., the new platform will actually still cipher through larger volumes of suburbs and find the true investor sweet spots within them, and then help you join all the properties together and really save a lot of time in doing that. So I will be referring to some new functionality that is being rolled out very shortly in the next week or two. So look out for that. It has been rolled out to some degree to a private group of you who have shown a lot of interest. So it has been released to the public in a private fashion, if that makes sense. So I'll jump right in. Let's get started. To start with, a little bit about me. I'll go through this very quickly. I have been investing for over a decade. I would describe myself as a DIY property investor. Lots of you on the line, I see a lot of familiar names there. So I won't go into too much detail here, but I believe in empowering myself with information and tools to take my property investing journey forwards. So educating myself and learning and talking and networking, and then using software and tools to research and actually buy property. So this is, taking that approach has sort of led me to be able to invest across the country. Some properties I've never actually visited. Still to this day, lots of different types of property, and now undertaking different types of projects. Ripehouse was founded by me in 2011, originally as a tool for me to actually perform my own research, and now by lots of investors, buyers agents, property educators, property researchers across the country. So that's just a little bit about me, and I'll dive in quickly. Look, this slide hasn't been updated. I do apologise. As mentioned, Albury was featured in the top 10 sweet spot report, which was on the cover of Money magazine for September. And I will be referring to a platform today, which is a week or two away from release, which I truly believe is going to be the future of property investment. So it's a way to really streamline the selection of properties, leverage expert opinion from across the country, different types of experts, bringing them together to crowdsource expert opinion. And where these overlap, being able to leverage those regions and suburbs that they recommend and find the absolute investment sweet spots within them, and then the individual properties. And comparing properties apples for apples across not just a suburb, but across neighbouring suburbs, and finding the absolute property, number one property with the most upside for you. And then actually clicking on the purchase button and having an on-the-ground buying partner within Ripehouse to facilitate the purchase for you is what we're rolling out in the next couple of weeks. So that's going to be demonstrated, and it isn't, has been out in the wilderness and been used by a couple of you so far, but I am, only demonstrating it today because it is a better way of doing things. It's much more practical, and it's far more effective in demonstrating things in a webcast setting. So if you are wanting to use it and want to jump in, talk to me after the webcast, and I can talk to you about how we can do that. So, look, I am going to be referring to The Myth of Capital Growth, which is a webcast series. I will skip through this very quickly. I do want to get into the heart of Albury today, but the way that we invest and the way we use Ripehouse and the way I suppose we think about capital growth at Ripehouse is a little bit different. We don't look at previous price growth to predict future trends. We don't listen to experts and spruikers, etc., across the industry whose motives are not clear or forthcoming, and we don't listen to mass media hype and unqualified opinion, I suppose. So in doing that, focusing on core utility, whether that's new infrastructure, etc., when that utility is potentially causing an effect on demand in the suburb, and then tracking that demand to find suburbs that are potentially primed for capital growth above and beyond organic growth in the region. We can leverage and delegate that research and thought leadership to experts across the country. I talk to a lot of experts as part of business as usual at Ripehouse, and it's interesting you see overlap happening, and that overlap is a real key to potentially investigating further. Albury, just talking in relation to Albury today, in terms of our top 10 sweet spot report, I'm not seeing a huge amount of overlap in Albury amongst other experts across the country. If we're talking Wollongongs as an example, there's a huge amount of overlap at the moment with Wollongong, from Sydney buyers agents to South Coast buyers agents, which probably isn't surprising, to Real Estate Institute of New South Wales, Malcolm Gunning picking Wollongong as his #1 market, through to Terry Ryder and myself. Terry Ryder, in terms of it was contributed by him to the Sweet Spots report, and myself because there's a lot of investors using the tools to analyse Wollongong, a lot of developers and a lot of the Ripehouse measures of capital growth are aligning for Wollongong. So there's a huge amount of overlap from a lot of different sources demonstrating Wollongong with a lot of upside. Same goes for Sydney, for areas of Adelaide. Same goes for Sunshine Coast, Moreton Bay. So North Albury is one that's sitting out there. I know, it's obviously on the top 10 sweet spots report. So Terry, and there is alignment here with users within Ripehouse, are really liking Albury. There's not a huge amount of national overlap right at the moment amongst a bulk of experts, which will become a little bit clearer in a moment. The whole core of Ripehouse, and this is probably a new way of thinking, is a suburb level street sweet spot. So what streets in the suburb are going to provide the opportunity to outperform the suburb in terms of capital growth? Seeking out the best streets to invest in. All streets are not created equal, is the thought. Just a little bit of insight into this, and I do cover this each week, so I do apologise for the overlap. I will get through it very quickly, but this is just to demonstrate being close to certain amenities is key and can drastically affect the appraised value of property. So not on the doorstep of schools, 250 metres away is a sweet spot. Up until 1250 to 1300 metres for shopping is a sweet spot. Right on the doorstep or 1100 metres is the absolute sweet spot for transport. Big key to this, if you've got the right distance away from each of the three key amenities for a property, expect to pay over 25% more than the average price for that property. Another big factor that has an effect on appraised value is public housing. Expect to pay around 25% more than the average property to buy in a street that has 0% public housing, and at 18% or more public housing in the street, expect to pay 20% less. So a massive impact on appraised values based on the level of public housing in the street. We've seen and personal experience has demonstrated that higher levels of public housing adds volatility to an investment, the potential to have substandard growth vacancy rates, higher vacancy rates, lower street appeal, lower quality of tenants, inability to index rental increases in line with the suburb overall. So you might be hamstrung there, and your rent per week is stuck for 3 to 5 years, whilst the suburb has gone up $20 a week per year. That type of thing happening in high public housing areas. It just adds a little bit of risk to the equation. So bringing all those things together, the Ripehouse sweet spot, as defined, is a street in which these 5 things coexist together. And it doesn't happen very often. It's usually only about 15% of each suburb across the country. So 15% of streets in each suburb. Some suburbs don't have any sweet spots. Some suburbs have a larger percentage. But when you find these 5 things combined on the same street, it's very powerful. And it's a demonstration that the street is primed to lead the suburb forward in terms of capital growth. And it's something you probably don't see very often, this type of granular property analysis, but it's extremely powerful, and it's the backbone of the Ripehouse software and platform, allowing you to see this street level research very quickly and to filter properties in and out of the key streets. So the Ripehouse sweet spot, as defined, is low public housing. It's based on the socio-economic status of the suburb. Lots of the in-demand property type in the street, high rent, higher than average rent, higher than average yield. Those 2 things you don't see very often. Also combined with higher than average tenant demand, or high tenant demand, anywhere between 30 and 70% tenants choosing to live on the street is the theory. So when you see those 5 things combined, expect to achieve 21.9% in relative terms more capital growth than the rest of the suburb, than the remainder of the suburb. Now, this was research we ran through to the 3 months through to the beginning of September of this year. If you had invested in a sweet spot in that time period, you would have actually achieved almost 4% capital growth as an average. Outside of a sweet spot, just over 3%. So even in a short time period, if you're investing in the key streets for investment, you'd expect to achieve far higher capital growth. That is the Ripehouse sweet spot, and that is the backbone of our software. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's look at Albury in focus. Which suburbs or areas within Albury are providing us the most upside as investors? So just to differentiate, if we were coming into things as a flipper or a very strong bias towards cash flow, our decisions might be a little bit different. Let's set a reasonable cash flow or yield requirement, but let's have a focus on short to medium term capital growth within Albury. That's why we're coming here. You have got the opportunity in these regional centres to buy quite low, the 200 to 300k price point, achieve reasonably good yields on a national scale, 5-6%, and still have the triple threat of above average or very good to excellent capital growth. And Albury is one of these centres that is featured in our National Top 10 Sweet Spots report. It is primed, based on Terry's research, to outperform a lot of other regional and even capital city markets. But where? We might not be familiar with Albury. How do we become local area experts there? Which suburbs, which streets, and which properties within Albury are going to deliver that growth? So some streets may be traditional blue chip tree-lined streets that attract a very small segment of locals or owner-occupiers. They might not necessarily be touched in the first round of capital growth by increased employment and demand coming in. That might be the more rental class or middle ground Albury streets that are first affected and first to move and benefit from added utility and demand to an area. It may be the second round of growth coming on the back of the prestige, etc. property. So Ripehouse is all about that first movement, investing in the sweet spots where tenant demand and population and rental demand is primed to push that upward pressure on price in the short to medium term. So let's jump in. I do generally jump across to, if you've got any questions, by the way, do jump in at any time. Danny, I'll get to that question there around the sweet spot report at the end. That'll become clear. Do use the chat functionality or the specific question functionality on the right-hand side there to ask any questions at any time. There'll be a dedicated question and answer session at the end, and I will take the time to go through any individual areas, suburbs that you'd like individually to a point. If you would like me to focus on somewhere else, if you do have the time to stick around once we're finished. So let's jump in. I'm just sharing my screen now. So Let me know if you can't see a screen with a blue background coming through. I'll give that a few moments to come into view. So yeah, just to reiterate, feel free to ask any questions at any time. I'd love to have a really nice and dynamic Q&A at the end. What you should be seeing here now is the My Recommends page, which is the new platform we've been built out. We're very excited to launch this. It is tying together and helping a lot of the pain points that investors run into within Ripehouse and outside of Ripehouse. So who to listen to, which experts are going to work for me, and where is their overlap. So, you know, we're taking the risk away from listening to one expert at the expense of another, and potentially that expert's motives might be not immediately obvious, to put it bluntly. How can we filter through that noise? How can we filter through the mass media and even property investment magazines to find true overlap? So, you know, industry-leading expert opinion, where is it overlapping? Which experts are right for me? Finding the regions and the suburbs, and then the sweet spots within those suburbs, and then going through each of those sweet spots, each of those suburbs, and providing a definitive list of properties that are really fitting the bill, appraising them automatically for us, and giving them to us in a list of above water or below water. So that is the appraised value higher than the asking price, and vice versa. So this is the page. I'm just going to use it today to illustrate our search for Albury property. We can set any of our strategy if we prefer to find unrenovated property or off the plan, if we prefer to look at units or houses, if we prefer to set a maximum budget or a minimum yield requirement. In this case, I'm going to select New South Wales as our catchment area. So we've already programmed in over 50 experts from across the country. You can see some very familiar names there around buyers agents, researchers, industry bodies, and dedicated property researchers. You can notice that some of them actually particularly focus on a region, so we can leave those in where they do. Malcolm Gunning is a REI New South Wales head or president, so you can view the recommendations of each of these experts. You can click on them to view what suburbs and the reasons why they have recommended them, and then my opinions on the reasons why they may have come to their conclusion, and what their motives might be. And you can obviously click through to their services. So some of these guys are buyers agents. You might like the full service buyers agent experience and the price and cost associated with it, and you can obviously click through. Someone like Terry, as an example, you might like to click through and see and pay for his report and validate with a lot of research and a sound understanding the reasons why he is explaining and recommending these areas. So you can pick and choose the experts you would like to listen to, or you can take a default approach where it is automatically selecting them for you based on your catchment area. Once you're happy with the list of experts, you can click on the approve button. That will then collate the experts, bring them together, and look for patterns in the areas and overlap from those experts. So we can see Wollongong, as I mentioned, there is a lot of overlap. 4 experts currently recommending Wollongong. Our area in question today is obviously Albury, Campbelltown, Liverpool, Dubbo, Ballina, Shell Harbour, Shoalhaven, Tamworth, Tweed, Port Macquarie. So these are all individual areas recommended by 1 or 2 experts. We are focusing obviously on Albury, but it's just, I suppose, to demonstrate other areas where there is the overlap in recommendation from the 4 experts we've selected. So let's go with Albury. That's going to take it through. It's going to search through Albury. It's going to find all suburbs across Albury that are specifically recommended by the experts in the list. And then also they have to meet a minimum requirement as far as sales volume and our Ripehouse scored. And then obviously we've done our sweet spot analysis. We've found the number of sweet spots in some of these suburbs, and you can see quickly here that some of these actually don't have a defined sweet spot. So South Albury and West Albury here may have too many owner-occupiers, not the right mix of tenant demand and cash flow and rent and yield, etc., to qualify for any sweet spots. May have lots of public housing, very high public housing. What it's done, it's gone through these suburbs, it's overlaid the Ripehouse smarts on the back end, and it's spat out the the number of sweet spots in each of these suburbs. So you can quickly go in. East Albury would be one that usually, if we're having this conversation without this platform, I'll be focusing on North Albury. Excuse me. That is my go-to number one option that was featured in the top 10 sweet spots report. There is 2 defined sweet spot areas in North Albury. Lavington is my secondary market in Albury, but you can see that there is 1 sweet spot within Albury and 1 within East Albury. So we might be able to pick up some gold in those 2 if we can combine them all together. You know, those of you familiar with Ripehouse, you can click on the suburb name here, and that's going to go away and it's going to load the main mapped suburb analysis page within Ripehouse. This is where you can do your street level analysis within Albury, and I'll take the time now to do a quick look through. There's lots of individual metrics. You can see the street level. So this one here is an example. The darker the red, the higher the level of public housing. This particular pocket, if you click on it, has over 50% public housing. So definitely a no-go zone in terms of that level of public housing is going to have a dramatic effect on demand and street appeal generally in those streets. You can do a lot of analysis here within the page and get really familiar with North Albury, see all current on-market properties. So we go across and we aggregate listings across the net and bring them together for you, so it saves the search time. Each red icon is a current for sale property. You can filter properties and you know, just look at 3-bedroom houses and see how the quartile pricing for the suburb changes down here in the bottom left. You can filter properties, you can remove properties by area. A lot of these toggles down the right-hand side of the screen demonstrate suburbs with higher capital growth, flipping or cash flow potential, even displaying streets that are affected by flood areas and filtering properties in and out. There's so much that you can do on this page. But in particular, to our search at this high level, we're looking for these 2 sweet spot areas within the suburb that we want to focus on our property search. So just to let you know, they're those 5 things in alignment on a street level. You can come in here and you can actually adjust these tolerances for each of the key metrics that I did mention, or you can click on the default sweet spot capital growth badge here, and that will spit out the bottom, the 2 Ripehouse sweet spot areas. And you can see you can adjust the tolerances here to introduce more areas or reduce them to narrow your search. And that in this particular example is increasing our tolerance for occupancy type, so more tenants or less tenants. The default strategy is 2. You can apply that and you can see visibly on the map where they are. So one of them up here is in the north east corner on the M31, and the other is down here bordering Albury itself. So they are the 2 sweet spots that have been found by the software, and you can see that there's a number of red icons in the defined areas there. So just remember those red icons, because they're the only properties we're actually concerned about now in Albury. These are the areas that are these are the properties that are in the sweet spots and prime for that above average growth. Now you remember this process because in Lamington and the other suburbs across Albury, we're going in and finding the individual sweet spots within those, and we'll combine them together. And if we've done that, we've got how many sweet spots? 7 sweet spots across the whole of Albury. If I deselect the suburbs that don't have any sweet spots, just having a think here, and then approve that, it's going to go away. It's going to have a bit of a think. So this is what we're working on now in the next week or so, is improving the performance of this page. It's going to have a think. It's going to go across each of the suburb areas that we're looking at. It's going to find on-market properties. It's going to put them into the sweet spots or out of them. It's going to bring us back the definitive list of all properties across all areas across Albury. So this is basically doing our whole job of analysing Albury in one go, bringing us back a definitive list of properties that match the bill. So they have to be the most in-demand property type, they have to be physically located in the key sweet spot areas, and then it's going to order them based on their appraised value and the differential between that appraised value and their asking price. So it's starting to bring the results back in. As mentioned, no properties found in South Albury or West Albury, just because there's no sweet spots there. We've got 4 properties that are on the market in North Albury in the 2 sweet spot areas that pass muster all the way through. Another one's come in now, 1 property in East Albury. So 1 property has fitted the bill there over in East Albury in that 1 sweet spot area. Still waiting on Albury itself and Lavington. You can quickly see, just explaining the property card here, each one of them displays to you bedrooms, baths, cars, block size, days on market, and then discounting amount. So has the property been discounted in terms of in its actual sales campaign? You can see the automated condition assessment using our self-learning condition assessment algorithm within Ripehouse, so it's defining the property and its likely condition. You can see and scroll through the individual images for each property. You can see the appraised rental figure using our Ripehouse appraisal engine, estimated yield, the asking price, and the appraised figure, the valuation for the property using our appraisal. So those of you familiar with this process, you can actually do that by clicking on an image back in the main suburban map analysis page. That will load up the property's details. So it's actually doing a couple of things at the same time there. Just finishing off there on the Lavington load. So I've found another 7 properties in Lavington. So I might just try and reload this. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing here on a 1-to-1 level, which is the standard Ripehouse software. Doing the condition assessment, then it's going to go away and find individual comparables. Looking at the suburb and the area level, going away, finding the individual comparables. What you're doing here at this point in the process is actually agreeing or disagreeing with comparables, and if you do disagree with them, you actually have the power of removing a comparable. That's going to provide you these comparables in what is most likely to be the most accurate list and order. Then it will take the 5 curated comparables across to an appraisal stage where it's going to run this appraisal through a number of filters. In this particular example, the base valuation based on those comparables was 210. It's telling us that it's in a cold zone within the suburb, so that's a defined area of lower price. Expect to pay 3.1% less for properties in this street area. A little bit too far away from schools, shopping is okay, transport is not available, everyone drives their car, not too much public housing, a final appraised figure of $190,000. So that is the $190,000 figure that you will see across, where is this property? On the main page here, I can't actually see that there. And if you can remember, this is actually on the market for $189. So basically the appraised figure using Ripehouse and the accuracy there is right on the mark in terms of this property. Going back to this, so we've actually come back now with 13 properties. It's gone across the whole of Albury. It's given us a little bit of surety across the experts who recommended Albury itself. It's found the key suburbs in Albury and the sweet spot locations within them. It's now given us 13 properties across the whole of Albury that fit the bill to the T, and it's ordered those based on which of them the appraised figure is above the asking price. You can actually change that order here, so we can change it and display to us the properties that have been on the market for the longest, which have been discounted by the most, so no discounting has happened at all in these properties. Which of them has the lowest asking price first, which of them has the lowest appraised value, or which of them has the highest yield. So we can quickly see here that this one at 137 Tamarind Street is, sorry, if I save that comparable valuation of 190, it will come back here into the page and inject that 190,000 here into the list price. So we can quickly see that 137 Tamarind Street, the appraised value is right on the mark with listing price. We could potentially negotiate under, start the negotiation at 170 or 180 potentially, and land on 185. Might be within the realms of possibility, knowing we've got a property that's likely to rent around the 300 mark and sort of right on the mark there as far as asking an appraised value. So you can see, we've gone through and found very quickly a number of properties within Albury that are going to stand out. They are in the same sort of the street areas. We've got Coonawarra Street, 1074 Coonawarra Street. We've got a unit sitting over in Lavington, so townhouse, which is sitting in the sweet spot over there. We've got another house for sale in Lavington, 409 Douglas Road, which is stacking up very nicely. You can see how it's joined them together. Another property here in Yambara Crescent. It's joining them together. Just, you've got quite a few new buttons on the properties. If a property is really not stepping up, so this one here is under contract, we can remove that very quickly. we can actually filter these properties. So it's got 12 properties in the mix now. If we really want to limit our upper price for a property, we can decrease that, and it's going to return us only those 9 properties that are below 300,000. We can set our budget that way. We can set our budget at the top, and that's going to affect which suburbs are nominated. What we can do here, we can also track a property. Click on track. That will then go away, track that property. If there's any updates to the asking price, if it does get sold, we will be notified by email. And also, if any new properties come onto the market that are very similar in the same sweet spot locations, we'll instantly receive an email. You can see the big red purchase button there. When you click on that, for a price of $997, our preferred partner within this location, we've set up key partnerships across the country. We'll go away and perform up to 4 property appraisals, 4 physical inspections of the property, and then negotiate on your behalf for the primary property once you make your decision. So that's managed by our staff here on the platform, the new platform that's been rolled out for a price of $997. You can click on that purchase button there and have full on-the-ground support through Ripehouse and through our on-the-ground purchase partners who are going to appraise and inspect up to 4 properties. So vet our number here of 232. Is it okay? Is it accurate? Yes or no? If it's not, what is the revised figure? And then go away and negotiate on the primary and secondary option that you nominate. So that's rolling out very shortly. What I'm demonstrating to you is the new platform within Ripehouse, and I'm going to talk to you in a moment about this. Has basically revolutionised how you would search for properties within Albury. It's subscribing to multiple heads are better than one, so combining multiple researchers and experts in the field to demonstrate and find individual suburbs of interest. Within those suburbs, finding sweet spots which are going to amplify our capital growth, and then appraising and ordering key properties in these locations for us so we can make and actually purchase them. So you can, obviously view the street addresses here and then go away and do your normal research, view the original listing on the original source of the listing, and ring up and negotiate, or you can click on the purchase button as mentioned, and allow our partners to actually do the on-the-ground inspection, appraisal, and negotiation. So this is all new functionality. It's basically supercharging the current street-level analysis within Ripehouse. So as a baseline, members can currently come in and they can do this suburb-level research. They can jot down and add suburbs to their shortlist. That will enable them to track and jump into those suburbs very quickly, but it's not going to allow you to join up the suburbs together and compare properties across different locations. So that's the new platform. I've done a bit of drilling down into Albury, just a little bit of further information for us. I find a bit of a funny mix within Albury CBD itself, and we did only see one sweet spot area within that area, within Albury itself. You've got most in-demand property type in terms of volume and demand is 3-bedded houses. You've got a lot of more blue chip types of property in Albury itself, but you do have a lot of owner-occupiers preferring those houses. Because it is a CBD location, you have the tenant demand is focused on the unit market or townhouse market, which is a smaller segment of the market. So it's not a very good mix or correlation between the two. North Albury, we have a far more attractive mix between higher levels of tenants and higher levels of the in-demand property type. So we can see those individual metrics within the Ripehouse suburb analysis page for any suburb. So just a little bit of helpful hint. It is going to North Albury and Lavington where you do see the investor class suburbs coming through. That working class, lower price point, high yields, but then also avoid the public housing is my insider information. Look to East Albury and potentially West Albury for the middle ground within Albury. Make sure you're investing in streets with low public housing once again, and at least 30% tenants, which is a little bit more difficult to do in East, West and South Albury because generally it has lower levels of tenancy occupation. Anyway, it really is the North Albury and Lavington suburbs that have that nice meat of tenant demand. So yeah, that's just a little bit of insight there into Albury itself and how to potentially invest there. Around that 250 purchase price, even below down to 200K, and you've got the 7 or 8% yields at that purchase price. If you did want to head up a little bit in your asking price and lower yields, do look potentially in that pocket, that sweet spot pocket in the south part of North Albury or in Albury itself, and look for those owner-occupier areas that potentially have the older homes with flipping and renovation potential. But just a little bit of analysis into Albury. I hope you found that sort of informative and a little bit of a peek into the new software that we are rolling out. That's, this is what it is. We've now got 50 experts and counting from across the country, one-on-one interviews with them and the areas that they are recommending and the reasons why. And we've collated those together and aggregated the opinion. So where there's overlap, there's power. We've got the back-end data smarts of Ripehouse, which is what everyone is familiar with, the Ripehouse sweet spots. We've been able to put that on steroids and really roll it out across these key locations to give you the key suburbs, streets and properties, appraising them, and then giving you the surety of that appraisal, and then the ability to purchase via on-the-ground inspection appraisals and negotiation for up to 4 properties for a price of $997 using that purchase button. But Ripehouse's software, there's a few of you online. A big shout out to you guys who are current members. We are a preferred choice by researchers, educators, buyers agents, and investors across the country. Big shout out to Guy. I can see you on the line there, mate. Hello, how are you? These are a little bit of an insight into current users and how they find the software and platform. Basically leading the way. We do try and innovate. We do try to be 10 steps ahead of everywhere else. This is the future of property investment and allowing you to research and purchase in locations that you might not be familiar with. Ripehouse, we listen to you very closely. Any questions or common problems that you're all running into in purchasing in these locations, we're trying to deliver solutions to help you do that. So this is a little bit of feedback there. Ripehouse is a subscription service. So normally our annual subscription is $797 per annum. As a thank you for coming along today, taking the time out from your lunch or working or busy day, I'd love to offer you a $100 discount on the normal subscription price. This is for today only. And look, this is a big asterisk because I have given you a sneak peek into the new platform and functionality. And Guy, I know you have asked there, you've missed this particular page. That's because I haven't distributed it widely yet. I haven't opened the link and attached it to your account yet. This new platform, we've spent a lot of time and effort in building it out, and it will be available for purchase for $197 per month to access this platform. Now, as a current annual subscriber, and there's an offer here as part of this offer within the webcast, I'm opening this up for you for a month. Free, included if you subscribe until midnight tonight. So you receive the annual subscription price for $697 plus a free month access to our new advanced platform, which is going to really get this search for you happening very quickly across the whole country. And then also, as a special offer, in addition to this $697 price, I'm opening myself up to personal one-on-one investment coaching. So we can jump on Skype, email, phone, answer your questions directly to use the platform and purchase your first property using it. So that's a special offer. You're able to lock this in via www.ripehouse.com.au/bonus. I'm just switching over here on the right-hand side of the screen. Do stick around until the end, everybody, and I'll be onto the questions. But I have switched on the right-hand side of the screen there the offer. You can literally click on that button, be taken straight through to the bonus page and lock in that special price with the free month access to the new platform, which is going to really move forward your investing within Ripehouse and really enable you to purchase the absolute upside in terms of property, street, suburb, region, across the whole country for your particular strategy and your needs. As an extra bonus, and this is in answer to your question there, just going back through the list, Danny, you can locate, and I am providing the free, also in addition to the $100 discount, the coaching and the free month access to the new platform, which is normally valued at $197. We will be rolling it out at that price to the public when that happens very shortly. But you are able to gain access for free to our National Top 10 Sweet Spot Report, which I co-author with Terry Riding from hotspotting.com.au, and that's normally valued at $154. and I'm providing it free as a special thank you with the annual subscription. So once again, you can log that in via www.ripehouse.com.au/bonus. And as part of the membership, we're your partner, I suppose, in property investment. So not in addition to me being one-on-one, you can jump onto the page at any time and use the integrated live support to ask any questions. That's a real person there based here in Tasmania, which is where we are based, to work with you in your investment and using the software. Payment is processed within Ripehouse via Stripe, which is actually best practice. We've recently moved over to it because of the features and security it provides. It's an international payment processing company, very, very secure and resilient. So payment is facilitated on that bonus page there via Stripe. Just letting you know, it will redirect you and have a pop-up there which enables you to enter in your credit details, and that is sent between your browser and Stripe. It doesn't come through Ripehouse at all, and that maintains the utmost security between you and the payment processor Stripe, and then enables us to avoid having your details on file, which is not good for anybody in terms of risk, etc. And there's no need for it when you use these best practice platforms like Stripe. So a little bit of an insight. I am on the line now. I have been really trying to stick to the hour 30 mark, including questions. I'll pop things on mute for a moment or two. Save up your questions. There have been a few coming through. Do save them up, and I'll come back in a minute or two and get going with some answers. Just in the interim, that offer is available at www.ripehouse.com.au/bonus. I have packaged together a huge thank you to you for coming and really wanting to get you started in Ripehouse in the most accessible way. So that's why the $100 discount is there. One-on-one coaching with me, 3-month access to the new platform, which is collating all expert opinion and helping search and appraise property, and the free National Top 10 Sweet Spot Report. So that's all packaged together there. If you've got any questions, there are my contact details. I'm just going to put things on pause and come back in a few moments with some questions. So thank you for attending. If you'd like to get back to your lunch break's over, thank you so much for attending, but stick around for some questions. Thank you. Okay, let's jump into some questions. Quite a few have come through. Thank you for sticking around and being on the line today. I hope you found the information session informative. Albury, just to let you know, was included in that report, and we have covered off a few other areas in recent weeks. So going back, Cranbourne in Victoria last week, where were we before that? Sorry. Gee, they all meld into one with me and these webcasts. I do apologise. We're up in the Caloundra region, Wollongong, and then before that we went into Adelaide, Moreton Bay, Morayfield, Ipswich, going back in order. So definitely check out the YouTube channel. So search for Ripehouse or myself, Jacob Field. So these webcast recordings get loaded to my personal account, Jacob Field at Ripehouse. But search for terms like Adelaide in focus, and today will be Albury in focus in YouTube, and you'll find the recordings, and go back and have a look if there's a particular area of interest, because Albury is only one. So I can see a few questions that have come through. I'll jump in and start answering them. But if you've got any individual areas you'd like me to focus on, do keep them coming through. I can see a couple have just come through now. I'll go through questions in order. Danny, so you can locate the top 10 sweet spot report provided free with your subscription. Going up to Guy, who's asked where I can see this particular page. Guy, how are you? As a current annual subscriber, this is also Helen's question as well. As a current annual subscriber to Ripehouse, I'll be sending the link through to you to access the new platform when the go button is pressed, and you can get going straight away. Faye, you are able to actually filter, so I might switch the platform back on for us, and I'll demonstrate, because Faye's asking how we can filter and find properties of a certain size in the area of interest. So your particular question may be, how can we find properties which have development potential? We can actually filter and find properties that are of a certain size or above, but local government building codes and restrictions need to be addressed. So you find the minimum square meterage that you need to actually buy a block to split, but we can show you and help you filter properties that do meet the minimum size requirements. So you can see here, I'm trying to highlight some text here because you can't see my cursor. You can see here against each property you have the square meterage. So this one's 677, this one's 753. You can actually come in and you can filter property. So if you need to have a minimum of 700 square meters or 600 square meters, you can actually filter the minimum. It will tell you how many properties fit the bill. If we wanted to come in and filter 700 meters or above, we can see that there's only going to be 4 properties selected at 700 square meters or above. You can apply that filter and you can quickly see the individual properties that are of the size needed to satisfy your split or subdivision or development. So that's how you can do it. That's basically going across. I think it's probably important to note, if you do or were basing your strategy on capital growth in any way, to still subscribe to the expert recommendations, the suburbs, and then the sweet spots, and then find the definitive list of properties that are on the market in those areas, and then I would filter based on block size to find those properties that do fit the bill. So we can still see the number 1 property in terms of appraised versus listing price has been dropped off because it's too small, but 1074 Coonawarra Street is still fitting the bill, and it's still appraised value is above asking price. So you can quickly see how that can be applied there. Faye, a couple of questions. You asked about email alerts and how you organise email alerts for new properties that come on the market. So Jessica, I do know you are looking through the Campbelltown region. Obviously, we've had a few conversations, and Campbelltown is a suburb or an area that this platform is going to work really well for you, because a lot of the suburbs across the local government area have low levels of tenants. So you might only have 1 sweet spot in every suburb, or 1 sweet spot across 2 suburbs, and you're joining together 15 or 20 suburbs. So this platform is going to join those sweet spots together for you, show you the on-market properties very quickly, and then you can shortlist and you can track the individual properties. When you actually add that to the list, so generally we aggregate listings across the internet, and there's about a 24 to 48 hour delay. But as soon as you actually put properties in a suburb into your tracking list, that is far more regular. So within the hour, you'll see those updates when coming. So when they're updated on the internet, within the hour, they'll be pinged through to you via email. So as soon as they hit your My Recommended property tracking list, we'll go out far more regularly and look for updates for those properties. Any tips around physical inspections? Do have a look through the repository, Jessica, of old webcasts. There was, I'll try and send it through via email too. There was a webcast I did about 3 or 4 months ago where I spent almost the entire webcast looking at how to appraise condition of a property. Check out the infographic number 3 on the Ripehouse blog, so ripehouse.com.au/blog. That will go into some more detail there. But for me, it comes down to, first, analysing street appeal, second, looking at kitchen bathroom, then looking at neutrality of presentation. So is it presented well for sale, or is a current tenant making it cluttered or very dark or dim or etc. And then also that goes to are the paints nice and bright, interior decoration nice and bright, or does it have very controversial colours? Then I look for any added extras. So on the negative side, does it have a funny floor plan? On the plus side, does it have what's it called? The Queenslanders, the double level with the airy storage area underneath. That's a cultural or specific regional element that adds or detracts from a property. So I'm balancing each of those things up in my inspections and keeping a running total. So when I'm seeing a lot of those things aligning together, on the plus side, it has to be relative to the suburb. And when you do see it relative to the suburb, you're placing that property in terms of poor condition or unrenovated, average condition, which is the norm, or good condition or renovated. When you're popping that property into those buckets, you're only doing that so you can go away and find other comparables in a similar condition, in a similar standard of property, so you can compare apples with apples and then form your appraised value and price expectation on that. So check out the blog, and as mentioned, the webcast recording from a few months ago for more information on that. Jessica? Jing is asking about investment potential prospects for Alexandra Hill in Queensland. So I'll jump in to start with there. I'm not actually familiar with Alexandra Hill. Alexandra Hills in Queensland personally, so I'm just getting my bearings. I won't be a moment. Okay, so where are we? And I am working through the questions one at a time there, so I won't miss out. Right, we're over here in the Wynnum West area. Traditionally, Ridland Bay. Okay, sorry, I'm still getting my bearings. Okay, so we're in the middle. Yeah, so just to go back a couple of levels there, the experts that I've talked to and engaged with coming through for Brisbane haven't directly recommended this area over here towards the Stradbroke Island Ferry and inland. Up towards, so just to sort of step back a few steps, we've got the Logan area featured in our National Top 10 Sweet Spot report. We've got the Moreton Bay, Redcliffe Peninsula area up to Deception Bay and Moray Field also featured, and then also up into Caloundra, Sunshine Coast also featured. So jumping out at me, this particular pocket of suburbs is not known for its above average capital growth in terms of Brisbane overall. I have recently spoken to some on the ground experts, so on a one-to-one level, speaking of inner Kings, Kelvin Grove, Kununurra, Woolloongabba, out to Mount Gravatt as another particular hotspot that has been mentioned by scattered experts on the ground. Nothing jumping out in particular with Alexandra Hills as a growth region at the moment, according to who I've talked to in the research. We can go in as a measure. So with a simplistic approach within Ripehouse, we can see the capital growth potential of an individual suburb. That is on the basis of assuming that sales volume increasing in recent times, days on market stable or decreasing, rents per week increasing is a sign that the suburb is more likely to be at 7 or 8 o'clock on the property clock. And when the more likely a property is, a suburb is going to be on 7 or 8 o'clock on the property clock, the higher our capital growth score is within Ripehouse. And you can click on this toggle here, and this is going to go away, and it's going to, the darker the blue, the higher the capital growth score within Ripehouse. And I like to see clusters. So, excuse me, there's a cluster of dark blue here in the northern quadrant up to Wynnum West. Sorry, this is eastern quadrant. There's some more blues over here following the M1 into the CBD, Wollongabba, etc. No blue jumping out at me in Alexandra Hills as an area of higher capital growth potential. But forgive my pronunciation, Kapalaba is jumping out at me, and then over to Cleveland. I'm not seeing a major cluster. So when there's little 1 and 2 suburbs here and there with high capital growth scores, it is a metric-based approach, so it might be an outlier. It may have its own individual economy that's sort of driving something, but it might not be something that's consistent or relied upon. I do like to see lots of blue combined with lots of expert opinion to really cover all of our bases. Let's just assume, though, we've got 68 properties that are on the market and being found. Let's go in and find if there's any individual sweet spots. So it's only actually gone through and found 1 individual sweet spot across the whole suburb. Reasons for that, I'll jump in and have a look in a moment. If you did want to see that sweet spot, it is focused around the shopping centre and Finnacoon Road. The actual sweet spot, according to our Ripehouse algorithm, is Hales. Sorry, I'll just get there. Hailsham Street up into Cambridge Drive, and then this street here, I'm just trying to get the street name, is Cumberland Drive. So that's the pocket of absolute sweet spot. You can see it's got shopping, transport with a bus line right next to it. I can't see the closest school visibly. I'm just going to click on, is it higher than average yield? So you can click on any of these street areas, see 5.4% yield, low public housing at 12%, 38% rental density, higher than average rent at $500 per week. Expect to pay around suburb median for property there. So you can see how we can do that street level analysis for any suburb. Interestingly enough, if we turn that back on again, there's actually no properties on the market in that sweet spot area. So that's when we either decide, is the suburb not really going to work for us because it's not really this in-demand investment class suburb, or do we open up our sweet spots and then potentially compromise on one of these metrics, maybe accept slightly fewer tenants and bring in more areas. 4 areas, as an example, is brought in if we come down to, where am I here? So if we come down and accept 4% tenants or above, we suddenly get 4 areas selected, and that may increase our sample of properties on the market. So we can see 2 here joining each other, which is really attractive, and 1 more over here towards the state schools and Catholic schools. So now we can start to see 4 properties on the market in these sweet spots. Hope that answered your question there. Quite a few questions coming through. Kets, do a video similar for Tasmania. I am based in Tasmania. Maybe drop me a line on 0468 315 593. I am happy to talk you through what we're seeing down here on the ground. I did recently speak with, if I just refresh this page, Tony College. Tasmania is one that it probably, you know, and according to our research, around that 6 or 7 o'clock on the property clock, but it's had a false start recently. It's still not consistent, but there is a nice, strong recovery message coming through around that middle ring, 5K from CBD Hobart, where we're starting to see sales volumes spike or increasing on back of days on market, which are reasonably okay, still quite high. Rental volumes and yields are excellent. Tony College, Rob Zubin, both local experts in Tasmania, have mentioned Clarence, Glenorchy, Hobart and Launceston. I'd probably take Launceston off there as it is a bit of an outlier, looking at those 3 key municipalities in Hobart. Going out and looking at which individual suburbs, I can just give you a quick peek. Yeah, this middle ring is very strong. So Sandy Bay, South Hobart, North Hobart and Mount Stewart don't have any sweet spots. West Hobart was #1 on Tony's list, has 4 sweet spots, is my #1 market in Tasmania based on all the things we're seeing here. Moona is an outlier. Yeah, we can actually go in and we can filter properties that are on the market into these sweet spots and find the list that way. So that would be where I'll be looking: West Hobart, Moona, South Hobart, Sandy Bay as my top 4 suburbs in Tasmania. Thanks, Robert. Yep, I'm just going back up. David, can you give me insight into Maryborough, Queensland? I'll jump in there now. I might use just to get my bearings. I'm not familiar with that yet. Maryborough in Queensland. So this is using the standard map-based analysis within Ripehouse. I'm not sure where Maryborough is yet, so I'm just zooming out to get my bearings. Let's just zoom back in again. One moment there, sorry about this, David. Okay, so I probably should have read that first. What's it telling us there? So lots of properties on the market, 3-bedroom homes are most common, high number of renters, and there is above average concentrations of public housing. So lots of stock on market. Let's have a look firstly potentially at capital growth score. So we've got Maryborough West as the highest capital growth score within the region, up to Dundarthau as well. Maryborough CBD itself, not overly regarded for its capital growth potential, according to the simple metric within Ripehouse, but excellent in terms of cash flow. So I can see all these metrics here, which is how Ripehouse is basing its decision. Average rent $255, great yields of around 5%. Let's just do our sweet spot analysis for you. 4 defined areas, and we can zoom in and see them. So down here towards the CBD, out here towards the golf course, and then up around the Sunbury State School is another sweet spot, and then out here towards the Memorial Soccer Ground, Maryborough Airport is another sweet spot. There does look to be quite a bit of stock on market, so it looks like there's about 20 properties on the market there. As mentioned, no experts that I've spoken to, it's come on their radar in terms of Queensland-wide or nationwide capital growth potential, so competing with those other hotspots across the whole country. If you were restricted to a catchment and investing in this catchment area, you want to be closer to home, then it might stack up very well. And if you really had to buy in Maryborough, etc., or you did know something that other people didn't, these would potentially be the sweet spot areas that I'll be looking to invest in. And there does look to be plenty of stock on market there for them. Look, that's the, Ken has asked, I'm guessing the computer or artificial intelligence does all the work for Ripehouse. So I guess this comes back to, we've got a data store of data. We've got the physical locations and sold history. So for sale, for rent, and sold property listings across the country for the last 3 years. And we'll put all those onto a map so we can see their exact location. And then we're able to then do the street level analysis. So we've got public housing data as an example. Started off life in 2011 with ABS data. Obviously 4 years is a long time for public housing to change. So we 6 monthly go around local government area to local government area. We're the only provider of this information that is accurate to today, and update at a street level public housing changes where it's a defined change. So some local government areas have policy where they move one property in and out of streets, and we do miss that. We can't get down to that level, but when they do build a new public housing block or then have owner-occupier buyback schemes, etc., we update our data. A huge data set. Data is power. It enables us to do all of these really smart things. It enables you to really supercharge your search across the country and do it accurately and be reliably and have confidence in the process. There is some artificial intelligence going on as far as we are very smart in the way that we gauge condition of property. So we're looking at the way that the property is positioned for sale. When you override and disagree with how we have assessed the condition of a property, it will then learn from that and it will get better the next time around. There are elements of artificial intelligence with how we've rolled that out. But I think Ripehouse is all about data, using data to make reliable and confident decisions, but then also delegating to experts when needed. So a good example of that is sometimes expert level research, on the ground knowledge, on the ground subjective and qualitative data needs to be there to assist and provide context to the Ripehouse platform. And that's when we do provide the overlay there, because when you see experts joining forces and providing and recommending down to the street, down to the suburban and regional level together, there's a lot of power in that. And when you combine it with the data like we do at Ripehouse, also a lot of power to be gained from it. So, look, if you've got any more questions, do get in touch. Yeah, my phone number, I'll jump back to the slide there. Feel free if you've got any questions. Trying Sorry, this is going to take a few moments. 0468 315 593 or jacob.field@ripehouse.com.au, or jump in and lock in the special offer from today at www.ripehouse.com.au/bonus. So I hope you found today informative. It's a sneak peek into the platform, the new way of rethinking investing in property, and standing by your side all the way through each step of the way. So thanks for your time today.